Hi, everybody. It's Claudia with Cabin Talk. And today I have the great joy to have an amazing researcher on again. And not just a researcher, but also my friend Elana Freeland. She has written a couple books, and I pulled them out, of course. Chemtrails, oops, here we go. Chemtrails, HARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth was her first book, followed by Under an Ionized Sky, From Chemtrails to Space Fence Lockdown. And now she is in the process of just finishing her third book. And it's about transhumanism. And you already have a title for it, Ilana, right? So welcome,
Yes,
welcome to Cabin Talk. And thank you for taking the time to come on. I know you're in full-on finishing the book mode. But what
it,
is the third one that we can look forward to?
yes, this one is, I hope, to be the final book I write on geoengineering. I will have said everything pretty much, I would have tied everything together that I needed to tie together after this book. And it's called Geoengineered Transhumanism, how the environment has been weaponized by electromagnetics, chemicals, and nanoparticles for synthetic biology. And I had begun writing this book before all of 2020 happened. And the fact that I already knew that the synthetic biology that Clifford Carnicom, the independent scientist, tried to tell us of for the last 20 years, that we were breathing these biologicals coming down with the aluminum nanoparticles, with all the chemicals, with everything that's coming down on us, and we're breathing it in and we're eating it in our GMO foods. He was right, and I knew it, and I began to make those connections while writing the last book, and decided I would have to take it all the way home to synthetic biology. And then boom, 2020 happened. It was I almost began to get sort of, I felt it was almost prophetic that it would have occurred at exactly the time that I was beginning to research. And I'm several months late in getting the book out. I'm on my own now. I left my publisher, not with any hard
Oh,
feelings, just
yeah.
that I needed to make more money, and now I'm doing it myself, which is a lot more work. But mainly I'm late because I had to listen to so many people and look at so much research coming out by
Yeah.
doctors and scientists who are seeing what's going on now. And so I gladly take the time, even though a lot of people are kind of on my back about it, because they think that if they get this book, they'll know exactly how to think. Well, that's not necessarily true. I'm trying to
Right.
collect everything that connects everything, of how the environment has been used against us in order to
Yeah.
bring us to a point where we will be cyborgs. And I think the advantage of this time now is, since people have been looking at the masks and the swabs and all of the different things, and Morgellons has again come up after being very quiescent for a long time. It's obvious to people that there is something very large going on here,
Yeah.
and that it has to do with control over humanity. So it's all been rather divine, I'd have to say, Claudia, given that I'm a student of Rudolf Steiner, and I have noticed that things are just being sent my way. Just I
Right.
can hardly keep up, is how I feel every day. I've been working at least 10 hours a day for 2 years now,
Right.
and I'm tired. And I'm in
I
the
bet.
last chapter, and I'm, frantically getting my small team of a couple of people here in town who are doing the photographs and will be helping with the formatting of the books and et cetera at the same time. So I'm like a one woman band here,
Right.
a
Right.
very small team of what I call me, myself, and I.
Right. Right. But you know, this whole shutdown, lockdown, whatever people want to call it, has come in handy to actually catching up on things and focusing because there's not much else we can do, even if we wanted to.
I
And
think
so
right.
it's really focused the energy in many ways, you know, and
Yes.
in good ways and in bad ways. But I think we can use it for good.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it is that way. I love that Chinese adage, the bigger the front, the bigger the back. Well,
Yep.
now I assume it means also the bigger the back, the bigger the front.
Right.
Because
Right.
we've had a real crisis. We're in crisis, and of course, the meaning
Right.
in Chinese of the word crisis is danger and opportunity. And
Oh,
the
really?
opportunity here is to grow from this.
Yeah.
And really, what I've come to over doing all the research for these 2 years is that it's no surprise to me that consciousness is the key now. It's the key.
Yes.
It's not about our biological lifespan. It's not about hiding and hoping that they take someone else. It's
Right.
really the only thing that's going to save us now from even the medical aspect, which is matter, right? It's all matter. Even the nanoparticles and nanobots are made of matter. Uh, Consciousness is what will save us in the sense that we can wake up to our responsibility for our health. You know, I've been to a doctor, as I've told you before, since I was 13. I don't
Right.
do doctors. I don't
Right.
need doctors. I studied Chinese medicine. I use it every day in the sense of how I eat, how I live,
Right.
my lifestyle, so that I'm retaining my youth forces and my humanity, while a lot of people are unknowingly, I believe, selling their birthright as human beings right now.
Yeah.
And so we can all learn from this. Even if our brother or sister or whoever is falling beside us, this is a spiritual war.
Yeah.
And we must keep our eye single, as they used to say. In other words, our intent, keep our intent very strong, and that includes our immune system.
Yeah.
And they have, and I prove it in the book, as people will see, they have spent over 50 years decimating our immune system on purpose.
Yeah.
And so now we need to take that choice back and do whatever we can to make our immune system strong again and teach that to our children and our grandchildren,
Right.
whether or not they have been programmed by the mainstream media and social media, whatever. The programming is here. You can see it. You don't need to hear me talk about the programming anymore. This is MK Ultra on steroids.
Yeah.
It is, they are able to do it through the television, through the iPhone, through all of the anything having to do with the Internet of Things all around us. All of this has been set up. It isn't just the satellites, it isn't
Right.
just the cell towers, it's everything that is wireless around us. And now we know that this is mind control in the sense not necessarily to get us to do something they want us to do or don't want us to do. It's really to completely control our brain and our nervous system so that they can now achieve the great singularity dream or nightmare for us of being
Right.
able to control us as human beings and move us into human 2.0, as Dr. Madej calls it, and make a human being that they can use for the secret space program, for one thing. That's very important, that Catherine Austin Fitts was absolutely right about the secret space program being the main canopy over all of this that is going on now. Their thoughts are for space, their thoughts are for domination of space, the solar system, etc. Believe it or not. And so now we know our condition. It's not that the conspiracy theorists are now the only people in town who are talking about things.
Yep.
It's that the conspiracy theories are absolutely true and have been for all these years. As I've even said, I've said to people, I wish I had been wrong about one of the conspiracy theories that I
Right.
researched and decided was true, but I'm sorry, I have never been wrong yet. And I'm not
Yeah.
wrong now. The environment has been weaponized
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Well, you can get rid of your TV, you can get rid of your cell phone. That would be a nice start, because those are both weapon systems. But on the other hand, you do want electric so you can read books at night. Hopefully, people will be reading books again, and you'll need some of this wonderful technology that we can use for the good. But
Right.
unfortunately, it has been turned toward the evil, and that means to me the anti-human. If I were to define evil, I would have to say anything, any technology or people behind the technology who are anti-human. And so we have to take responsibility back and
Yeah.
not wait for the experts. They're in fear and terror for perhaps their lives, yet not just their livelihood, not just their reputation.
Yeah.
Some of them have been completely captured, of course, but there are some who are now coming around and are taking hold of their courage to speak out because they
Right.
see that we are in, as humanity itself is in great peril right
Yeah.
now. There is no question now. And it's not a matter of, oh, we're helpless, we can't do anything. Like, no, there's plenty we can do, and it has to begin with taking our lives back as individuals. We have to take that back, and we have to examine what we're doing, how we're living, what kind of technology we think we can't do without, what kinds of foods we think we can't do without, what movies and TV shows we think we can't do without. All of this has to be re-examined because all of it is being used to program us. And
Yeah.
I think all the people going for the vaccinations are proof enough, despite the fact that they're seeing other things. But if they hear the mainstream media or an expert gets on the mainstream media and says, oh, that's all conspiracy theory,
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
to examine things ourselves and make our own decisions and turn off the so-called experts and literally turn off the mainstream media, which is, to my mind, has been completely controlled by the CIA since 1973. And I have that documented, Operation Mockingbird. We're still under it.
Yeah.
So let's get real. This is not about fantasy. This is not sci-fi. Our masters are showing us their ugly faces now, and we're seeing how they're not apologizing. They're full of hubris. They're basically announcing the victory dance. As I always say, it ain't over till the fat lady sings, Claudia.
Right. And I think their victory dance will be way premature because as many people as are running to the vaccines and talk about the bigger the front, the bigger the back, as many people are waking up in droves.
Yes.
And you can see it even in mainstream media articles. Like I just saw on Yahoo News, which I hate to even call it news. It drives me crazy that they have that name. But, the vaccine hesitancy is so high now that people don't want to get their, millions of people don't want to get the second dose and, all of that stuff. So it's trickling out even with the mainstream media that people are no longer into it. And the ones who were dead set on getting it, they ran right away to get it. But I think so many people are like, whoa, something isn't right. And I see a lot of injuries. I see a lot of people dying, and I'm just not going to get it now. And so I think the harder they're pushing, the more people wake up quicker. And they are certainly trying to push right now.
Yes.
But I really think that it's a massive awakening at the same time. But I honestly believe we will lose an enormous amount of people. It'll be a real war.
Yeah, yeah, and that I know this may sound like a cop out to a lot of people, but not to me. As a student of Rudolf Steiner and as someone who at 8 years old experienced uh, a uh, a time I lived before about 2,500 years ago. Big surprise. I didn't know it was so unusual. I was only 8. I didn't know
Right.
that you can't have those experiences, and it must be a fantasy. But years later, I realized who that was, who I remembered, and um, that's how I see death. Death is. I died once in when I was 22 in Hawaii. I was living there, and I was body surfing at Makapu. Some who have been to Oahu may know what I'm talking about. And it's a wonderful place to surf and body surf. But I was alone on the beach because it was an overcast day.
Wow.
And the problem with Makapu is it has a very steep decline from the shore. And if
Yeah.
you miss the wave, it could be dangerous. Well, I didn't have a spotter with me. I was 22. I thought I knew everything. I thought I could do anything. And I got caught in the turbulence,
Yeah.
and I couldn't find the top of the water. And a little
Wow.
voice inside me said, "You're going to die now." And then I died, I guess, because I was shooting down that tunnel that years later I would read about
Wow.
as being an experience, an out of body experience that a lot of people have. So I'm shooting down this tunnel, going like 1,000 miles an hour, just really, really moving. And I could see this beautiful light at the end of the tunnel, just so beautiful. And I was like, I'm going home. I'm going home. And
Oh.
I was super excited, super excited. And then suddenly I'm going backwards. And I'm going, no, no, I want to go home. I want to go home. And then I ended up, and this is a miracle in itself. I ended up on the beach, puking seawater up. And I have no idea how I got to the beach because the tide was moving out, and I shouldn't have been able to go in that direction. But there I was, and I was really depressed for about 3 days that I had
Wow.
come back. But then I realized, oh, wow, I'm a spiritual being living on this planet, and
Yes.
it's not time to go home. I have work to do here.
Right.
And it was a tremendous moment for me to have that experience because no more did I question what lies ahead of
Right.
me. And so to me, the people who are dying, I'm very sorry that they'll miss out on an opportunity here, but they'll have others.
Right.
And my hope is that this too is not being changed by our masters. That the occultists among them, the esoteric among them, who know of these things that Rudolf Steiner knew of, but serve the anti-human side, uh, will they try to change they want to change our mind, they want to change our soul, they want to
Yeah.
change our spirit and our evolution, our spiritual evolution. Will they be able to, in some way, by taking over the atmosphere and taking over above the earth, will they find a way to tweak the death process as well? I mean, if I have any big concern, that's my biggest concern,
Right.
is that
I
they
totally
not
agree.
be able to touch that because
Right.
we need our human evolution, and to do the human evolution the way we have to do it because we're kind of sluggish, we humans, we're kind of lazy, we kind of get caught in desire and get distracted easily and things. That's why we need these serial lifetimes
Yeah.
in order
Yeah.
to understand what it is to be a divine being living on beautiful planet Earth. So
Right.
anyway, that may
This.
sound like a sidebar to my usual, but this is the direction I'm going in now. I feel that I've been given permission by
Right.
our masters for thousands of years, who are now trying to basically kill us and turn us into machines. I feel like now I can pull the stops out and
Right.
just speak.
Right. And, I said before we came on, I said my sister, we're sisters in arms. And I
Yes.
cannot believe. I'm going to tell you right now, when I was about 8, I had my first past life experience, and I didn't know what it was, but I had been to a place before that I had never been, because I had never really left my little village that I grew up in, and I came to Austria, and I was like, I know this place, and I knew exactly the castle, and there was a well behind it, and I described it to my friend Anne Marine, who was with me, um, and I was probably the maid who had to pull water from that well, you know. I mean, I wasn't the princess or something. I'm sure I was the maid. And so, but that was my first sort of really tangible, like, wow. And she said, how did you know that? And I said, I don't know. And then later on, I realized, and then when I was about 23, maybe 24, I almost drowned the same way you
Oh
did
my gosh. Oh
in
my gosh.
Cancun. Yeah, in Cancun, the undertow sucked me under, and I was like in a washing machine. And I was sucking in so much water eventually, because I couldn't come up, that I thought, okay, I'm going to die now. And it's actually not so bad. I mean, I really made peace with that I was dying. And I was very peaceful about it after the struggle and after trying to come above water and all of that. But then my ex-husband pulled me out literally last minute, and I was coughing up water and all of that stuff too. But I was like, oh, okay, so this is not so bad. It's actually all right to die. And I was very peaceful about it. And then he pulled me out. But it was like we have literally almost the same experiences. This is so crazy. It's really
That is
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah. And it
Wow.
also took a lot of my fear of dying and my grandfather dying and being with him when I was 12. That really also took my fear of dying. I thought, okay, it's not something to be scared of, you know? And so I didn't have the tunnel experience or the bright white light, but I feel like I've always known that it's not something scary.
Yeah,
And
it's like we're going into another room,
yeah,
and it's a room in which, at least for those who live a somewhat of a good and conscious life, I have to put that little caveat on there, because I think that there are some deaths where it gets kind of crazy once you slip into that room, because it's not
right,
the end room that you should be in. Now you're in transit. You're in transit. And during the transit, I think the Tibetans, with their Tibetan Book of the Dead, tried to tell us about this problem of death, that when you leave here, depending on how you've lived and how inwardly you've really taken on the spiritual, which, just to remind people, uh, Dr. Tom Cowan early on,
hmm,
and Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt quoted Rudolf Steiner as saying that there will come a vaccine, which when you receive it, you will no longer be interested in thinking of spiritual things.
hmm,
And we have to remember this, that there are ways to get lost here. It isn't just
yeah,
business as usual. And so the
yeah,
same with death, that the Tibetans saw that if you died under certain circumstances, violence, suicide, uh, all manner of thing. And I really don't know how violent this death is that people are undergoing from the vaccine. I really don't, because we all know it's not a
right,
vaccine. We all know it's an operating system, and we all know, at least I do, and I explain it in this book, that 5G is super super involved in this. So
yeah,
so when we die, the Tibetans said, you may end up in a bardo. They called it a bardo, and it's a place of illusion, where you can even not even know you're dead. You're just carrying on the images and thought forms that you had when you were here. And now you're really making everything up. You're making up the house that you're still living in, the state you're still living in, the city you're still living in, and you end up in that, and you can get stuck there for thousands of years, they say. So to me, the death process is connected to the life process, and that has
right,
to do with the the consciousness I'm talking about. It's not like I'm saying we're all going to die and that I believe we're all being eradicated. I do not. I do not subscribe to that theory. I think a lot of people are dying, but that goes with the experimental territory. And I don't think I think they could, they being our masters, could easily get rid of a million or several million, as they did in the wars, as they have in various geographical emergencies. They could get rid of us quite easily. No, they want us as guinea pigs. They want to be able to have plenty of experimental subjects, and so when we look at the death, yes, it is very bad that so many have to die. But a fellow emailed me the other day, a doctor actually, and he was most concerned with saving as many people as possible. That's that, and I sort of argued against that. He probably doesn't think very highly of me now, but I argued that, to me, it wasn't just saving people. I'm not here to save anyone. I'll be lucky if I can save myself. But
Right.
I am here to dispense knowledge that I gain through my own effort and my desire to gain through my own effort. And yet, for those who die or who must die that I can't save, the death process, how have they lived? And I said to him,
Right.
to me, it's the how that is so important. Not just saving people, but how I try to save them. Am I thinking that I'm going to save them? I don't think
Right.
that can happen. That's not how this works. But they can save themselves. And what I'm trying to do is prepare them to save themselves by having knowledge of how the technology works and what the real condition is, so that
Right.
they can get hold of that with that inner self, that they can then have that as a tool, as a weapon, whatever you want to call it, so that they understand their process here, and hopefully with an inner life, which I'm recommending to everyone as part of the immune system. The immune
Right.
system, there's a physical immune system, yes, but what is that really that's developed for millions of years?
Right.
And that these are our enemies, are in the big pharma, are attempting to kill and slaughter over the years with pollution and GMO foods and all of these things. What is that immune system really? Well, it's connected to our spirit. It's
Right.
connected to who we are. It's not just physical. As Tom Cowan, the doctor, said in his wonderful book, The Contagion Myth, he
Hmm.
said, there is no real immune system. It's not a system.
Right.
Somehow we, the spiritual being living in these bodies, come here to Earth to learn who we are and what we're doing and what the Earth is and what all the divine things attempting to relate to matter are. Somehow we're connected to our immune system. So it isn't just that I'm saying eat good food, don't eat GMOs, eat organic, etc. It's also, what's your mental space all day? Are you
Yeah.
in fear?
Yeah.
Are you in
Yeah.
terror? Are you angry? Are you, who is that in there, and what are you putting out as your immune system?
Right.
That's
Right.
crucial to this. And therefore, you will, even when you get to death, you will experience it in a different way than if you buy into the fear, germ
Right.
theory, virus theory, bacteria theory thing that's being promulgated here
Right.
to make you afraid and make you turn to experts who've been trained by the in America anyway, by the American Medical Association, which is crooked as a dog's hind leg,
Right.
and is completely run by big pharma.
Yeah.
So this is our challenge. This is the first challenge, not to run out and start trying to save people, but actually get hold of yourself and
Yeah.
make sure you're on target. You're running the right course.
Well, that's
So
why, Elana, this whole time now has also been a war on fun. on people's joy. Like everything that brings people joy, festivals, music, getting together. It's been a war on
Yes.
joy, and joy elevates everything in us, makes us
Yes.
healthier, makes us more resilient, and it's been a war on us being in nature, grounding ourselves, being in the parks, being in the woods, and people are supposed to stay in their apartments, never leave them. And so it's been really a war on all those things that make us who we are. And so I feel like that's what, if I want to bring one thing to people, it's to be outdoors, lie in the dirt, and just have a good time, because it will make you stronger. And it
Yes.
will, honestly, when you live that way, you are so connected to the cycle of life, and you stop fearing whatever comes next, because you know
Right.
that inevitably you become part of that cycle again, and it's okay.
Right. And along with that, to really to understand where we are and to find those ways to take care of yourself, to make yourself. And I love the word that you brought up, the word joy, because really joy is not the same thing as happiness. I learned
Right.
that from C.S. Lewis many years ago. He wrote a book called Surprised by Joy.
Mm.
And joy is, I often think of when I lived in the islands in Hawaii. I lived there 4 years, went to college. Um, that Father Damien was a Catholic priest who lived on the island Molokai. And Molokai was well known then as a leper colony.
Hmm.
It's where whole ships would come and dump the lepers from different
Wow.
countries. And then Father Damien would, and his helpers would take care of them. So leprosy was one of the most contagious diseases, considered very contagious. Actually, it's not really. But what happened with Father Damien is he was he lived a very spare life, a very dedicated life to lepers. Doesn't sound like much joy, but the truth is, it was his greatest joy to be of service to these unfortunate people. And he went, he was there over 60, I can't remember the number of years, over 60 years at least, serving in this capacity. Never
Wow.
once contracted leprosy until the last week of his life.
Oh my God.
And he was ready to
Wow.
go.
Yep.
And now, boom, here it comes. And
Right.
he's on his way. So I've never forgotten that. I learned
Oh,
that
I
when
have
I was
goosebumps all
living in
over.
Hawaii. Yeah, I was living in Hawaii and I was studying the islands. I was studying hula with Edith Kanaka Ole. I was learning the Hawaiian language. I was really into it, into the islands. And I never forgot that. I thought, that's joy. Because
Yep.
he doesn't need so much pleasure. I'm sure he had a few things, maybe a cup of tea in the morning or going into the ocean and letting the salt water flow over him. I'm sure he had his moments of
Right.
of encouraging himself, of giving himself good treatment. But his greatest
Right.
joy was in that service. And I kind of feel that I'm cut out of the same cloth, and it's similar, where I'm happiest when I'm working for humanity. And I've been this
Yes.
way since I was a child.
Yeah.
And it's just part of my destiny, as is the word I would use. That you find your strength and your destiny. It isn't that you should be like Elana. It's that you know your strength, and that's what you want to support, so
Yeah.
that it just emanates. And then everybody gets a piece of that action, not to make you
Right.
important or your name remembered or anything, but so that you have been of service to your fellow compadres here.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh, and that's kind of how I feel, and what I meant to this dear doctor when I said that I wasn't really concerned about saving people. I was more concerned about how they were conducting themselves, that they would possibly die. It's the how. It's what are you living at the moment? This
Yeah.
is your responsibility, and this is the thing that we now can see. Okay, this is big, and
Right.
we are standing at a juncture of the future and the past, and there will be no past coming back. We will not live as we did before, so that's settled. And now we're at this crossroads, and the crossroads are always it's not only the cross, but it's the one thing is going one way and another thing is going another, and
Right.
we need to make a commitment. There is no neutrality now. People who think they can be neutral in this are deceiving themselves. And
Yeah.
you definitely do not want to live a life of self-deception, because one day you will go into that next room and you want to be who you are when you do that to the highest degree you can possibly be that. So to me, it's clarified a whole lot of things that some people seem to be, oh well, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. No, there
Yeah.
is no later
Right.
now. It's
Right.
right now, and this is
Yep.
how it's to all turn out. Is what
Right.
goes on right now in those people who take hold of their lives
Right.
and in service and with joy to now really take hold of as much as we can for the future humans that are coming still.
Right. And isn't it
Very
an
clear.
interesting time where right now, during this time, everybody is forced to live in the now more than in the future
Yeah.
or in the past? We're really forced to be here now because we don't know what the future brings anymore. It's all up in the air. It's not like you make your 20-year plan or something, or your 5 and your 10-year goals or whatever. It's just laughable at this point. So we have right now, and the people who still have their long-term plans financially or whatever, I'm just like, where have you been? But it's still sort of, so right now we're really all forced to be very present. And I
Yes.
think that's a gift in itself, because usually we tend to be in the past or we tend to be in the future, and we can't really focus on the now. But this is a time where we are all forced to do so. So there are a lot of unintended positive consequences of all of this, I feel. And
Yeah.
it's also a really wild ride. And this old Chinese saying, may you live, or a Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. We certainly got that one covered right now. But
Yes.
it's really a wild ride we're on, and we'll see where it really leads us, which is, um, it's all in a sense guesswork, because I feel even if they have a lot of things that this is their plan and that's how they want to conduct it, I think there are a lot of unintended consequences, and our human spirit and our humanness, I think, can easily get in the way of things.
Oh, I think that it's not over till the fat lady sings, and I
Right.
don't know that they know this.
I
Uh,
know.
but but one thing I want to share with people that has to do with the science that's in the book is this nanotechnology. The nanotechnology, in a way, well, in a very big way, it's the most important thing that I am writing about, because we know next to nothing about nanotechnology. Now, we have had a bit of a learning curve for maybe the last 5 or so years on electromagnetics. I think a lot of activists, a lot of people have come to the fore on that. They've been wonderful in trying to get out to people. And in this, the Europeans were way ahead of us, because they've known about the drawbacks of electromagnetics for quite a few years, and have actually had many research projects proving that we need to be very concerned about electromagnetics impact on our nervous systems. So that's good. We've had that learning curve. The chemical side of the title, the long title of my book, we've known about that too. We know about fluoride. We went through the asbestos thing. We went through the nicotine cigarette thing. And we've been through certain things where, oh, yeah, that's not good for the public good. Now, in seeing that, remember, this was the mainstream media that was telling us this. So in a way, what all of that was, I've now learned, was sort of a distraction or a small payment to the public that, yes, you're right, that pollution is definitely a problem. But it was all very controlled. And meanwhile, there were lots and lots of experiments on human beings in the United States by the American government and military that obviously they did not want us to know about. That's what I've really talked about, and I talk about it in the book. So it isn't like this is the first time we've been used for experimentation. Not at all.
Yeah.
We've been used over and over. And in fact, I'd say the entire medical industry and big pharma, which are really the same thing, they're based on a non-health, but they need a certain modicum of health sometimes in order to run certain new experiments. So the new part was when Clifford Carnicom, back in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, began to talk about what he was finding were coming out of these chemical trails behind jets. And that's where, he's collecting precipitation, he's collecting detritus out of his HEPA filter, and he's examining them with microscopes and solutions, various chemical solutions for reactivity. It was from him that we began to see something that was quite a surprise to those of us paying attention. And there were very few paying attention because most people just don't look up. I don't know why, but they don't. Anyway, finding biologicals in this stuff coming down that we're breathing. Because that was the other thing that they suddenly discovered was, wow, these particles are really small. I mean, they're sub-micron. They're smaller than a micron. This was new information for us because there had been no announcement of nanotechnology. Right. There was nothing, just like the vaccines now, the so-called vaccines, there was no testing of nanotechnology either. It was all just whoosh. And of course, the military was first in line on that. And that would include the geoengineers, because the geoengineering program is actually a military program, folks, in case you haven't heard me 1,000 times. And that's when the illumination, I was late too. I came into this when I met Clifford in 2007, maybe. And we began to talk about it, and I began to look under his microscope. And now I'm pretty much a mini expert on nanotechnology. I've read a lot of patents, a lot of papers. I've read a couple of books, and I see the problem. And one of the problems was actually seen by the founder, the discoverer of nanotechnology, a young man at that time named Eric Drexler. And Eric was, I think he was at MIT, he was a grad student, and he had this great idea that you could actually use atoms themselves to construct the building blocks of materiality, of everything material. We could build rockets out of this. We could build huge buildings out of this. We could pave roads with this. I mean, it was like, wow, this is great. And, and you could do it all by computer. And he was thinking in terms of an idealism, according to the author I read, that, it'll free up time for people. they won't need to be constructing all this stuff. These constructions will just kind of happen, and they'll be wonderful, and they'll serve us. That we'll be the masters of these. But he
Yeah.
also knew, and it really bothered him so much, that he didn't really put it out there that he had discovered this for quite a while, a few years, as a matter of fact. He also realized that if it went into the wrong hands, Claudia, it could devour the world. It could just gobble it right up
Yeah.
and turn it into dust. A lot like the dust at 9/11, when everything came down so fast and so perfectly
Yeah.
that if anyone believes it was just inside detonation, they're wrong. That was a directed energy scalar weapon that did that, and it just brought everything back to dust. And they were all it was all magnetic dust. As the firemen were walking in the footprint of Ground Zero, looking at things, bewildered by this and that, and just seeing this magnetic dust everywhere, like that deep. And so Eric Drexler realized that his invention, not really invention, invention, because we had nanoparticles, but nanoparticles, natural ones,
Right.
from meteors and smart dust not made by human beings in the atmosphere or above the atmosphere. So we had nanoparticles, so we knew that they were made of atoms. They were so tiny, they were made of atoms. And now he finally wrote a paper, his PhD paper thesis, and spelled it out, and it became a book. So when I picked up on his invention and began to look at it in terms of what Clifford Carnicom saw, I realized that this was how they were going to do everything.
Yeah.
It's cheap. You just need to train a bunch of nanomaterials guys and
Right.
give them the machinery, and boom, you can do anything with it. And that's the problem, is we've breathed all these nanos in, and now the 5G is set up, and I just read that they're setting up the 6G, and now all of these nanos in us, which have tiny, tiny computers in them as well, tiny, tiny, tiny computers, they can be communicated with, and we can be controlled
Right.
from a distance. This is our biggest problem. And again, my solution, consciousness, because these nanoparticles are conscious, but they have a swarm consciousness. They're not like an AI computer. They have a swarm consciousness that I believe that with our intention and our fantastic consciousness, we can overcome and we can dominate them. And so that's the other challenge. To me, the very greatest challenge is the nanotechnology in us. And now they're putting in the operating system with the mRNA. That's what that is. Plus leaving lots of little pieces of exosomes, probably with stuff attached to them that will avail them of inspiring different disease conditions in those who get the vaccination. So that's kind of how that works in my mind.
And I think you're absolutely right about the consciousness, because I mean, it was always mind over matter. And I have to tell you this little story of mine about how I had asthma attacks when I was early 20s, middle 20s. And I had one that came on slow, took a couple of days, but after a couple of days couldn't breathe anymore. So my ex-husband brought me to the hospital, and they put me under that oxygen tent or whatever it was, and steroids or whatever. and they gave me an inhaler and said, don't ever be with the inhaler. This can get really dangerous. And I got really scared, and I would always have my inhaler. And a few weeks later, I had the same thing coming on, but this time I could feel it was much faster than the first time. And I drove myself to the doctor's office immediately. And by the time I got there, I was like, like this, sucking in air. And they put me again under that tent, and I could breathe again. And they gave me more inhalers and different ones. And they again said, don't ever be without the inhaler. This is life-threatening. It can get really dangerous quickly, and you always have to have them with you. And just take a few puffs when you feel something coming. And I went back in the car and drove home. And on the way home, I'm thinking, are you all nuts? I've never had asthma before. I don't know where it came from, but I'll never have another asthma attack in my life. And I did something I wouldn't do ever again. But I took the inhalers and I flung them out the car window, going 50 miles an hour. And I was like, I'm done with this shit. And I never had more trouble breathing in my whole life. Never again. Yeah. But it was like, they put so much fear in me after the first incident, and I don't know where it came from. Maybe it was some flowers that were blooming, or God knows what.
Maybe it was an experiment.
Maybe it was an experiment, yes. And so, but I never had that again. And it's been 25, 28 years, who knows how long exactly, but I've never had more trouble. And so I really made that conscious, like, no way in hell am I going to have another asthma attack. And I didn't. So I think we are extremely powerful.
Extremely.
And we have absolutely forgotten that we are. We have so much power. And we're throwing it away, not just giving it away, but throwing it away. And so I think when we remember that we have that power, the world would change to this unbelievably magnificent place, because we truly have that. And I know we have it inside of us. And I have my own doubts too, oftentimes, that we have any power at all. But then I have to remind myself that we actually really do, and we can manifest things in our life. And especially when it's win-win on all fronts, I feel like whoever is out there, the universe, or God knows what people want to call it, really aligns and is so gladly helping us. Yes. And we just have forgotten that.
Right. And you're so accurate about this power. I remember Jesus saying, you shall tell the mountains to move and they shall move. That idea that this being made in the image of God, which is how as I recall, the book of John or something starts out. How about that we're this high evolution. We are not the leftover ape, excuse me. We are something much larger. And Rudolf Steiner, as I've quoted before, has said that we are the religion of the gods. Why would we be the religion of the gods? Because we're the first creature to live in bodies and to become conscious of our condition, to be self-conscious, to be building an individuality. That in itself is just amazing. And that bears tremendous responsibility as well, if you're going to be that. And I think that what we have been conditioned to do is to pass over any of that, to the experts. Right. And the experts go to universities that are completely controlled by the same people we are now in a tremendous war with. And the training directs them in a certain way, and then they ignore all of the rest of it. So let's wake up to that. It isn't so much the experts. The first clue I think a lot of people got, Claudia, was when people began to say, wait a minute, that's not very, where's your common sense?
Right.
What is the common sense? Common sense is common. It's not med school common.
Right. Right.
And it's kind of unless you claim it, you know, it isn't going to come from a lightning strike. That's geoengineered
Right.
now anyway.
Right.
But you're not going to get a lightning strike from God, and suddenly, you know, you're
Right.
like an avatar of some sort.
Right.
Uh, if you get one of those, it's probably an AI system that did it, and it's a different kind of avatar.
Yep.
But
Yep.
anyway, you really have to ask for it. You have to reach in, because part of being the religion of the gods with free will is that we have to say, I need help. Help
Yep.
me. Help me now.
Yeah.
And then we can reach in and say to the asthma, no more. Enough of
Right.
you already.
Right.
And that's kind of what the power we need to claim. It isn't a matter of being a Claudia or an Elana. It's a matter of claiming one's human power. They're trying to convince us we're just ants under the table
Right.
getting crumbs from their plates.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That's all. You got it inverted, folks. They're taking
Right.
advantage of it. There are parasites,
Yeah.
and we are the ones that
Yeah.
are really the extraordinary power that they constantly have to barrage us with
Right.
lies
Right.
and violence and weird sex and all the rest in order
Right.
to throw us off of our human trail.
Right.
We need to
Right.
reclaim our human trail.
Well, it's like with all the false flags, Ilana, that are going on with all the false flag shootings and all of that stuff. I mean, because humans don't really want to do that. That's why they have to
No.
create all those things that we're supposed to be so nasty. And it's not to say that there aren't
Yeah.
nasty people on the planet, but intrinsically, humans want to be good. They love when good things happen and they are joyful about it,
Right.
and they can do something good for somebody. I mean, I see that so much. We rescued a little calf that had a completely deformed leg and we needed to operate on, and it was quite expensive. And I put one shout out, and people immediately went to help with the bills immediately without
Wow.
even much of a break, and it was so heartwarming because people really want to see beautiful
Yes.
things and
Yes.
want good things for other beings.
Yes.
And we are constantly being told we're murderers and killers and horrible and sick and mentally ill and all those things, when all we need to do is find our connection to each other and to nature again, and all those things would go away.
Yes, and all of those people who are the shooters and they're all mind controlled, and
Right.
they've all been trashed by those that we are now encountering in power. The only violent, vile human beings I need to worry about are the ones in power, actually.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry about that. That's
And I honest
everything's inverted.
Yeah, and I honestly think it's just the upper tier. It's not even going a few tiers down. You know what
So
I mean?
the
It's
rest
just
are
the
minions.
very, yeah, yeah,
I don't know how people look at it, but to be a minion, you have to make a choice. It isn't just the mortgage. It's not just feeding the kids. It's not just all the things that they usually excuse themselves
right,
with.
right,
Um, but you make a choice to serve either good or evil. And if serving evil gives you more money and prestige, uh, the price you're going to pay for that is, I think, a little higher than you think. So I
yes,
would highly recommend that people consider who they're working for, and
right,
not write it off as you have to. There's a
right,
choice there. And if it, just think about it, if you didn't support those things and those people or those corporations, what would happen to those?
yeah,
Well, they would have to be more on a human level. They would have to be more on a common level uh, than that they'd be these mega giants. So we have a problem with that in really looking at
right,
what it takes to make a corporation, what it takes to be a boss, and what it takes to be in a capitalist system. This is
right,
not about anti-capitalism. This is about the system you're in. How are you using it to excuse your behavior? And that does not
yeah,
fly
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
all based on choice.
Right, right. I totally agree. I mean, it is so important that, and in Buddhism, they say the right livelihood. And I think that is really important. And I think if you make the choice to not be part of that, you will still make the right livelihood. It will come to you if that's what you ask for, if that's what you want, if that's what your heart truly wants to do. Because there are always other ways. And we don't usually know even what those ways are, but they will show up when we align ourselves with that.
Right, unless your right livelihood, you have like dollar signs on it, and you
Yeah.
want to make lots of dollar signs. That may not be your right livelihood. That
Right,
will
right,
you won't be able to take it with you anyway. And in
right.
order to get that kind of cash,
Yeah,
you're going to have to do some things that are
yeah,
probably
yeah,
going to be much worse than the original choice of
yeah,
working for that.
yeah.
So that I just that kind of excuse I don't need to hear from people because I already know how hard it is to do the right thing when you're scared. You
Right.
you still have to do it. You still have
Yeah,
to do the right thing.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree. I totally agree. And when they say people are so poor, all they have is money, that's really true for a lot of people. They really have nothing else. And then they try to fill themselves with it and it just will never fill them. I mean, you can amount gazillions of dollars and it will never be filling because it's not the right thing to fill yourself with. If they would just step back and go, okay, what am I really lacking? They wouldn't need all that money. They really wouldn't. I mean, we all want
They
to
don't
eat and have
need
a
all
roof
that.
over our head and
Yeah.
and basic, needs met, but we really, it's deranged a lot of times. Really
Yes.
deranged.
Yes. Yes.
But I am so happy that you are taking the time to come on and tell us again the title of your new book. Have you
Uh,
made one yet?
do I remember it? Um,
I
uh,
wrote it down.
what?
I actually wrote it down.
No, geoengineered transhumanism, how the environment has been weaponized by chemicals, electromagnetics, and nanotechnology for synthetic biology. And in this
Wow.
book, the difference between this book and the other two books you held up earlier is that in those books, like the first one was Chemtrails HARP, and that one, that's sort of what I call the meat and potatoes book that begins to tell you how the environment was being weaponized in the late 90s
Yeah.
and on. And then the next book came out of the unanswered questions of the first book when I began to realize that, oh, the electromagnetic part is pretty big, and they're actually creating all these different infrastructures, particularly with Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon from HARP up in Alaska to all the other ionospheric heaters to all the radar installations, et cetera, all the cell towers, et cetera, et cetera. Wow, they're creating a huge lockdown system through electromagnetics. And that was when Billy Hayes was helping me, the HARP man. And he had worked on the HARP installation up in Alaska, and he had also worked on 240 other installations for the military industrial intelligence complex. And he began to point me to the space fence, the return of the space fence, which had been under Reagan and Bush and Cheney back in the 80s, but got tabled under Clinton and now was coming back with full charge because they had had such success in ionizing the sky. So
Mm.
that's where I then took that and then realized on my own, without any guidance from anyone particularly, that wow, now it's going into the synthetic biology. They're setting everything up in our bodies to turn us into cyborgs. And that's where the third book came from. So one book after another gave birth to another. And now with those three books, that trilogy, I call it, if you're if you should have a trilogy. Then you got the whole picture on the geoengineering piece of
Right.
assault that is
Right.
going on, and it doesn't have anything to do with solar radiation management. Sorry, that's all
Right.
a cover story. Just like climate change is a cover story.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean there isn't climate change. The question is who's doing it?
Right.
Not
Right.
Mother Nature, folks. It
Right.
is
Right.
definitely corporations. So
Yes.
that's kind of how it went, and now I feel like I'm done with the geoengineering to the degree I can contribute. I send an appeal out to those experts in nanotechnology and astrophysics, plasma physics, all of you guys who have been playing it safe all these years and signing the non-disclosure agreements and bowing to threats to your family and your career and yourself.
Right.
It's time for you to develop some courage and to come out and speak,
I
because
agree.
this is a system, and it's an AI system that is being imposed upon all of us, and unless we begin to resist and speak out, uh, we will become machines. And do you want that for your children and your grandchildren? I don't think so.
Right. Right. Well, Elana, when can we expect your book to have it in our
Well, yes,
hands?
yes. Several months late, and I'm on the last chapter right now,
Great.
which is nanotechnology, and then I have to write the introduction and the conclusion, and then put the whole book together myself because I left my publisher,
Yeah.
and I I think I'm crazy, but I think I can be done by the end of this month.
I would
I have told
absolutely
people
love
that it's
it.
coming out in the spring, so hopefully
Right.
it'll definitely be up before summer
And then,
solstice.
since you won't have a publisher, where can we find it?
Oh, it'll be everywhere because I'm self-publishing,
Yep.
not through Amazon, but through Ingram Spark,
They're
and they
nice.
will
I
distribute
love
it
them.
out
Yeah.
to many places,
Yeah.
and then you'll be able to get it. Some bookstores are doing pre-orders now, I
Okay.
hear. So
Great.
anyway, sorry everyone has to wait, but
Well,
this
as
is
soon as
something
that's
that has
available, I
been,
will put a link up also and tell people
yeah,
about it for
definitely.
sure.
Yeah. I
Yes.
mean, a book, as my previous publisher, who's now dead, said, it's a book, Elana. It has to stand the test of time, because I was in a big hurry, and he's right. So it has to be done right. And I'm pretty much a one-man band here, a
Right.
one-woman band.
Right.
So
But a really
yeah,
good one.
yeah, doing pretty
A,
well.
a
Good health,
really
good
great
immune
one.
system.
Well, Elana, thank you again so much for coming on. It really is always a joy and a privilege to have you and for you to share your knowledge with us. And it's just a wonderful, I just love having you. I just love talking to you. I mean, I could do that all day.
And
But
even though you haven't seen me for a while, Claudia, I want you to know that sometimes you will cross my mind, and I will be so glad to know you're out there.
same thing, honestly. Same true here too. And I know my viewers feel the same way about you. So I know they're gonna be excited about hearing this interview. I told you in the beginning we can't live stream, that doesn't work anymore. But I will certainly upload it, BitChute and Odyssey, and then share it on Facebook and share the links on YouTube because I can't put it up there. It gets taken down right away, so there's no point in
Yeah,
doing it
skip
anymore.
YouTube.
Skip it. Yep, skip it. We're done with that.
Just
But
send me a URL, okay, so I can post it.
yes, absolutely.
I'm in
Absolutely.
Facebook jail right now, but for a month. But
Oh,
who
yep.
cares?
I know all
Onward.
about that. I'm in good company. You're in good company. Oh, well, thank you again. And thanks everybody for coming on and joining us for this wonderful talk from Elana Freeland. And it's always wonderful. And I hope you'll be back again soon. Maybe I can have you back when your book is actually in hand and we can talk about it some more. I'd love it.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Elana. Bye bye.
Bye.